Today we're problem solving how do you start playing fast. So a lot of times in my teaching videos, what I do is I teach sort of a more modernized version of what I used to do when, 20 years ago when I was playing really fast all the time and for the first time. Um, Today I'm actually going to show a little bit more of what I actually did and, just sort of demonstrating that there's no substitute for practice and there's no substitute for just getting those reps in. Um, Probably the easiest way to start playing fast, besides doing the sort of burst stuff that I've covered before, would be actually working on the opposite, working on continuity, right? And a lot of times the greatest challenge is the left hand, like getting the left hand to coordinate, right? So tremolo picking sort of becomes one of the first things that we could do that creates a fast texture, and that really just requires the right hand to be very efficient, consistent, clear, that kind of thing. So, early on, I definitely somehow ran into, the song Miser Lou by Dick Dale, very famous tremolo picking song, So that would be one of the first things I would advise, actually, if you're really interested in playing fast, but you don't have the coordination yet, you don't have the sort of the dexterity and all four fingers and all that. Starting to play Miser Lou can actually, one, you can arrange it with all four fingers, and you get the feeling of picking really fast and consistently on the low string, the high string. That's pretty much it. And you get a good E chord. So let's play a little Miser Lou. So. That's not the first one. Let's do it. We'll stop here because I actually was gonna make a point, and then I was like, I messed it up or whatever, right? So let's just talk about it. The reason why going into the first string, even though it's the same melody and all that, the first string feels different than the sixth string, right? So one of the things we have to understand about playing fast is that it doesn't feel the same when we're at string to string. A lot of times our picking angle can change based on our hand placement, and we always want to be open to adjusting these to get the sound and the feel and the result we want. So let's take it from here. It goes to the F. I have it. So just a great picking exercise. Great song. You get to play a song. It just feels good. And if you count the actual number of notes you're playing, it's so many. And it's opposed to working through a scale pattern, which if you do that, maybe you're playing 8. If you're doing 2 octaves, maybe you're doing 16. If you run it forwards and backwards, maybe it's you have to turn around, so it's like double that plus 2 or something like that, but it's not that many. In order to play fast, we need to not be tired when we play fast, so getting endurance style training in really helps, right? So then, let's say you even learn something like that and it uses this sort of particular scale. I don't even know what the name of this scale is. This is a more exotic kind of scale, but I always think about it as harmonic minor, A harmonic minor, also with the E harmonic minor. So it's got the leading tone of the G sharp and the A, and the leading tone of D sharp and E, and it starts from E, E, F, so it's like a Phrygian dominant kind of thing. So it's Phrygian dominant harmonic minor, E, F, G sharp, A, B, C, D sharp, E. That's the Miserlou scale, right? So you could take something like that and just use the open string and sort of work your dexterity. You could do it with hammers and pull-offs, or even just pick it all. So if you want to like, right, go slow. You could have more E's. Right, let's move it around a little bit. And this gets you using. This is all stuff I totally remember doing, all these years ago. And, literally playing the same thing over and over again just gives you a lot of repetition and some thinking time, And it's a good way to sort of refine your technique in real time. If we wanted to do it without, say, the opens, right, and we wanted to do something like this, it becomes a little. It starts to ask a lot from the left hand. You start to have to have a light touch. You can see there's a bit of a stretch here, there's a bit of a stretch here. It's not always the greatest example. So then we could switch to something like minor scales, or major scales, depending what kind of mood you're in, or harmonic minor scales, right? So a great example would be something like Evil Eye from Yngwie Malmsteen. He plays it in A, but he's tuned it half step down, so it sounds like concert A flat. So I've just been playing it in concert A flat, so I'll do a bit of that. So, right, and what this uses is harmonic minor. Right, you see the gap there, gap 1, 2, 4. Right, so it's got the cadency sound. You can tell it's a bit classical sounding, right? So that's the usage of the harmonic minor. But this lick is played very fast, and it's played on a single string, and it actually acts as arpeggio in a way, because the first and the last note of each position pattern ends up being a chord tone for the chord we're in. So even if you play it slow, it actually sounds very nice. Like that. So let's give it the Yngwie treatment. So let's see, Evil Eye, 1984, Rising Force, great record. Let's see. Also, boom, 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 boom. There we go. So you can see, to do something like that, you got to think faster than you're playing. So you want to just sort of take the time to just sort of work it out. When I was doing this the other day, I was just getting the idea of like, oh, this would be a good one for beginners. The great part is it teaches you sort of the main 3-note per string approaches. A lot of times with playing fast, you have to be able to do a little bit more than sort of your pentatonic 2-note per string. You can do that kind of stuff and run through it fast, but there's not. It gets difficult with the alternate picking because you're constantly changing strings, right? That's why people like Dimebag Darrell and stuff would do like 3-note per string pentatonics. You start to get things like that. So that's a bit cool too. But 3-note per string, you get the 1, 3, 4 pattern, right? You get the 1, 2, 4 pattern. We get the same pattern, 1, 2, 4, and then we get what I call gapped 1, 2, 4, which is good here. Sometimes, depending on the hand size, you want 3, but I find that 2 is pretty useful. Unless you're like way down here, sometimes 3 is the better choice. Like if I was doing that up 1 octave higher. Or if I go to here, you can see the fingers are pretty crunched, so a 3, 4 might be the better choice when it comes to something like that. So feel free to work it, right? Work it along a single string, get your dexterity down that way. Miserlou, Evil Eye by Yngwie, or even just some, finding your scales and working them up and down, right? But don't use boxes, don't use scale patterns to develop your speed. Use that to develop your alternate picking and such.